All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Michelle Morris from Consolidated Planning Group. I'm so glad that you're here with me today. We're going to be talking about transitioning to adulthood today. Your kiddos are going to have three big transition periods in their lives. That moment when they turn 18, there are some legal transitions that are going to happen, right? And making sure that your kids are following the rules of SSI and Medicaid, legal rules around becoming a legal adult, that sort of stuff. And then there's the transition that they're going to face. It may or may not be around the same time, but when they graduate from high school, you want to make sure that your kids are not just graduating to sitting on the couch, that they're going to have something more to do with their lives. And then the third transition period is when your child is going to move from your home to their residence, wherever that may be, whether it be a group home or a residential community or living with family or roommates or whatever that situation might be. So we're going to deal with some of those transition periods today. I do want to let you know a few things before we really get going today. That is that we are recording today's webinar. We record all of our webinars, and if you have registered, we will email you a link to that recording. We're also going to email these slides to you. So there are some helpful links within the slides. And when you receive those later on today, you will be able to click on those links for more resources. The other thing I want to let you know is that because we're in webinar mode, I can't see you or hear you. I do know you're out there. I see the participant count, but feel free to have your lunch or drink or whatever you want. And any questions or comments that you have, please put those in the chat box because it's easiest for me to be able to get to your questions and run the slides if you just put it in the chat box. I did see that we had several questions sent in ahead of time, and these questions, they seem to be focused on 3 or 4 main areas that I will be covering in today's webinar. So please, if I miss your question, just make sure you get that into the chat box. But like I said, we are going to be talking about SSI benefits and the Medicaid waiver, job placement and the Texas Workforce Commission, housing benefits, uh, programs, yeah, and what steps you should be taking right now. I was just looking through the list of questions that I have here saved on my phone that you all sent in. But Consolidated Planning Group, before we get too far into this, we are first and foremost financial advisors. We have a small independent firm that is based right in Houston, just outside of Houston, actually, in Sugar Land. We serve families all across Texas and all across the United States. So it doesn't matter where you live. Some of the things that we talk about are going to be focused on Texas, but many of the things are going to be nationwide topics, and we can help you find resources for you if you don't live in Texas. But families come to us for things like protection plans, thinking life insurance and disability protection, lifetime care planning for their loved ones, transition planning, of course, what we're going to be focusing on today, ABLE accounts and what buckets your money needs to go into. And of course, we are here to advocate for you and to help educate you because we know that you're in the thick of it and that it's tough. And there's so much information out there. Some of it is noise and some of it is correct, and some people try to help, but they don't necessarily know everything that they're trying to help you with. So we're here to set the record straight and answer your questions. I already see some great topics being put into the chat box for us to get to today, like summer programs, weekly programs that are available during the summer, information for military families. That is great because there's a lot of information out there. Now, we have done webinars in the past with various summer camps, Linda. We have done webinars with summer camps where we do it kind of like a panel discussion. We have several representatives from different camps or different residential communities, or even we've done some with schools where they come in and they talk about their programs. So you could always check our YouTube channel to find those webinars. Now, across the United States, unfortunately, there are not very many special needs financial advisors like us. There are over 263,000 financial planners all across the United States. Now, this is data that was taken from the I forget what the name was now of where I got this information, the Census Bureau data. Geez, anyway, the Bureau of Labor Statistics says that there are over 263,000 financial advisors. But when you look into how many of those are focused on serving the special needs community and helping plan for your loved one's future, it's less than 0.1% out of those 263,000 financial advisors. Fewer than 200 companies focus on special needs planning like we do. So you are definitely in the right space. Again, we're going to be talking about transitioning today and what happens after high school. So first of all, it's very, very important that you have realistic expectations for your loved ones. Of course, you want to stay hopeful and positive and optimistic and excited about the future. And you want to understand what their specific diagnosis means to them. How much are they affected by that diagnosis? What challenges does that bring with them? And what superpowers does that bring to them? If your child has something like ADHD, you know that there are some additional strengths and weaknesses that come along with that. For example, that ability to hyper focus on what they're very interested in. And yet it's a challenge because that hyper focus on their interests can lead to ignoring other important areas. So think about the challenges and strengths that the diagnosis will bring to your family. Maybe, a non-traditional path is better for your loved one. Not everybody has to go to high school for 4 years and then go to college for a bachelor's degree for 4 years and then go for several more years for doctoral degrees or master's degrees or advanced training. Not everybody has to do that. There are so many other paths available. Think about maybe vocational schools, programs that might present a certificate or something like that for your loved ones. There's registered apprenticeships that they could get. Maybe they want to delay their driver's license a little bit or stay in the high school setting in an 18 plus program. There's nothing that says that your loved one has to do the traditional path. And it's so important that you don't compare your children to the other children out there. I mean, you've got friends and neighbors and family members posting on social media, telling you all the highlights of their lives and what's going on. Of course, they never tell you the bad stuff, right? Nobody wants to post those days on Facebook, but they happen. They happen to every single person. And I like, some people say, oh, if a flower or a plant is not blooming where it is planted, you fix the environment. You don't need to fix the flower. That's one analogy to look at it. I like to look at it like popcorn that, when I make my favorite snack, popcorn on the stovetop, I put all the kernels in, I put the oil in, it's in the same pot on the same stove burner. It's all heated at the same time, but those kernels never pop all at the same time. There are a few that pop off first, and then they go a little bit more, and then a whole bunch in quick succession. And then it slowly dies out. And then there's a couple that are still popping at the end. That's how I think of our loved ones, is that they're never all going to hit the same milestones and the same moments all at once. It comes gradually for some people. It comes more quickly for other people. And that's okay. You don't blame that kernel of popcorn for not popping. It just is what it is, right? So think about what options are available that are going to work the best for your situation and your specific family. So finding a good fit for your loved one, it can take a lot of different shapes, schools and colleges. If you're looking at a school or a college for your loved one, you might want to talk to the Office of Disability and see what programs do they have. How robust is that office? Is it one or two people who kind of have to sit in a closet? Is it a big group of people who are actively working and trying to find programs and design programs meant to help your loved one? Um, does that school, that college already have some great programs? And there are a lot of them all around the country. And of course, thinking about, does that school offer studies in the area that you want? Are they located in an area that you want? Are they priced reasonably? There's a lot to think about when you're picking a school. Extracurricular activities, it's time to start thinking about what your child has loved as they've been growing up, as they've been in public schools, or any elementary, middle, or high school career, what they've done, and finding ways to continue those fun extracurricular activities that they love in school outside of school. So maybe they really love animals. They can go look at extracurricular activities and volunteer opportunities that focus around animals. Or they could go look at opportunities around conservation efforts, or helping others in some way with housing or food or anything like that. They can go into sports. They can go join clubs and other groups in the community that they might enjoy. When you think about a career path and a work setting, of course, those two kind of go together. You have to find a career path that your child is going to enjoy, but also it has to be in a work setting that they're going to be able to handle. So for example, if I say, oh, I really want to work in a bank, I want to work with money, I want to be a banker, but I know that my work setting cannot be something boring. I have to have things going on all the time. I have to have noises and bells and whistles, and sitting behind a computer all day would just crush my spirit. Well, you can see that career path and that work setting might not be a good fit. And you might need to help your loved one understand, not crush their dreams, not tell them that what they want to do is not a good fit for them, but figure out ways that they can do what they love in a setting that will suit them, and put those all together. So it does create some work for you as the parent to help your loved ones figure out these 4 areas and how they can combine them into a great life for themselves. But once you find that fit, I promise you, that is like the golden key that is going to open doors for them. So you know that while your children are in school, there are certain accommodations that schools have to meet. Well, the same goes for colleges. When you take the SAT and ACT, when you take AP exams and college courses, and even graduate level exams, you need to know that there are accommodations available for those things. In some cases, especially if your child is thinking about going to a tech school of some kind or a vocational school, you don't even need to take the SAT or ACT. But The point is that if you want accommodations on these things, college courses, anything like that, check with the school, check with the companies that proctor these tests, like College Board or Praxis or whatever, the AP board, and speak with them about what requirements they have around those accommodations, what you need to prove, and come to them with reasoning. You know, my child needs this accommodation because of this, and this is how we can help them. They might want to see some testing for proof that your child needs those accommodations, and we always recommend that you update that testing every 3 to 5 years. Um, the school will need a FERPA form to be able to release information to you as the parent, because your child is now going to be over 18, or they will soon be over 18. And as an adult, the schools do not need to share your adult child's information with you unless you have a FERPA in the file. You might also want to look at getting a healthcare power of attorney and a power of attorney, which would be a general. So there's a healthcare power of attorney and a general power of attorney. You might want to go ahead and have those in place actually for any children that you have, adult children who are moved out of your home and might be away at college. You might think about that even for aging family members. As a matter of fact, my whole family has that set up to where we're all in line to take care of each other in case something does go wrong. Just so that we and hospitals and anybody who needs to know can know who my family members are, and that they're able to speak for me if I can't speak for myself. Now, there are also accommodations that you can get in the workplace. You can have any reasonable accommodation as long as it does not pose an undue hardship to the workplace. So, yes, you can ask them to put in guardrails maybe, but you cannot ask them to move their entire business location because it's on the third level of a building. Maybe you could ask them to put in a chairlift or a simple elevator. But you know, you can't make them redesign the entire building for you. So there are certain things that would be required if you ask, and you can look at the Department of Labor website and the Job Accommodation Network website. And again, these links should work. They should be clickable when you get these slides later on today. If any of the links in this webinar don't work for you, or they don't go to the right place anymore, if you could please just send me a quick email note and let me know, I would really appreciate that, because I can fix them for future webinars. So please do let me know about that. Now, this is a list, a partial list, and it looks like the formatting got thrown off a little bit here, but you get the gist. Unfortunately, these are not clickable links. It was just too much to get them all going, but you can Google any of these programs. These are mostly focused on Texas schools, but they offer a lot of great programs. And we've heard from clients who have students in these programs that just love it. There's the VAST Academy at HCC, Life Path at Lone Star College, the Non-Periel Institute is great. A&M has Aggie Achieve and the PATHS program. Texas Tech has CASE program. There's one called TUCASA. I think that one is at UT. There's just a lot of great opportunities out there, and a lot of great programs that are designed to be able to help your loved ones with disabilities. Maybe they have mentorship programs on campus to help guide your students. Maybe they have programs where they're going to take a class that's going to teach them about going to classes and being in a dorm, and you know what that all looks like. Maybe they have a program where your student can just go to a couple of classes to get their feet wet and see how it looks. But please contact your schools that you're considering going to and look at what classes they have available, what programs and opportunities are available to them. And I'll get this slide fixed before the next time I present. There is a cool program through Bloom Consulting. Now, this is a paid program. But it is designed to support neurodiverse college students with various disabilities as they attend a post-secondary school. You can be at any school, and they can provide sometimes in-person support and sometimes virtual supports. They have a planning process, a wraparound planning process that uses the Berkman method assessment to build a support team. They're going to pair your student with a coach who provides mentoring and guidance and navigational support. And this relationship really helps empower your student to be able to speak up for themselves, advocate for themselves, have more informed choices, and be more effective and efficient on the college campus level. Again, you can be at any school to be able to use this program, but you have to go through Bloom Consulting. It does cost about $1,000 a month if you do private pay. If you are working with the Texas Workforce Commission, you can contact your VR counselor to see if they might build this into your plan and help pay for it because it's part of your support plan. So if you're interested in more about this Campus Connections program through Bloom Consulting, you're going to have to contact Bloom Consulting. That's not us. We don't work for them. They don't work for us. This is just one of the great programs that we have heard is out there that you might be able to use. So you can email them at ccapply@bloomconsultingco.com, or you can call 512-537-1661. Now, when we're talking about special needs planning and thinking about the future and what the future holds for your loved one, it's really important that you understand that there are differences between your special needs planner and a special needs focused attorney. You need both. I mean, you need a team of supports, and you probably already know that. You've already started building your team of support, but a special needs planner, like what we do at Consolidated Planning Group, we're going to help you look at benefits and when your child needs to sign up for certain benefits. For example, the waiver programs, SSI, Medicaid, SSDI, Medicare, all of those different things that are available through the state and the federal government. We're going to help you think about the future cost of care and how much money you need to set aside for your loved one and for your own retirement. We're going to talk about all of those things. We're going to guide you on what needs to be done. An attorney is going to talk to you about the legal side of things and making sure that all the paperwork is set up correctly so that your will, your special needs trust, and if guardianship is something that you think you need, that you have those things in place. An attorney can help you with those powers of attorney, and any of the legal aspects that you need. Again, they don't work for us. We don't work for them. We don't get a referral fee or anything like that, but we do refer our clients to attorneys that we know have been in the business and do work with special needs families routinely and that they know what they're doing. Build that team of experts up and let them get to know you and your family and your loved one, because as you go through life, those different, I've seen it described as a target before, your different circles of support. You're going to need people from all different areas and all different points in that circle to help you. So it's good to get your child introduced to those people so that as they come around, it's not strangers working with your family. So when you're thinking about working on planning for the future, The very first thing that you should do is gather up all of the documents and statements and information about what you already have in place. It's kind of like when you're going someplace new and you put the address into your GPS. Of course, it wants to know where you're starting from. And that's the same with special needs planning. We need to know where you're starting from. We're not going to say, oh, you're so bad that you didn't do this or that yet. We're not doing that. We're looking at what you currently have and looking to the future to make things better for you. So we've heard some people say, oh, I'm embarrassed by what I haven't done yet. No worries about that, because we're here to help you go forward. And we can't know how to get you to where you want to go unless we know where you are currently. So gather up all of your documents that you have, all of the things you already have in place. Start with a letter of intent too. You can start this on your computer. I was a teacher in a previous career, and I was an English teacher. So I used to teach students how to write. So the English teacher always comes out in me when I start talking about writing a letter of intent. I would start this on my computer and start with the facts about my child. The letter of intent is really meant to be there for you. Well, not for you. It's meant to be there for when you are gone and somebody needs to step into your role as caretaker for your family. And you want to tell them as much information as you possibly can about your loved one, because you know more about them than anybody else. And when you're gone and somebody else has to step in and take control over helping your family, there's a lot of information that they're going to need to know about. For example, what are your children's diagnoses? What medications are they on, and when do they need to have them? Who is the doctor? What supports do they need? What support systems do they have in place? What benefits do they have? What life insurance do you have? Things like that, that I would start with these factual items, and that will help lead you into the more fun stuff, the more personality based items. Like, what are your children's favorite hobbies and foods, and what do they use to soothe themselves if things are going wrong? What do you use for celebrations? What religious and spiritual beliefs do you have? All of those kinds of things that are the more subjective bits of information about who your child is, that would help somebody come into the picture and help out. You might write something like, Michelle, I'm going to use my own name for this one. Michelle knows how to dress herself, but she loves to wear sparkles and dresses all the time and doesn't necessarily realize when it's cold outside that she needs more layers, and that a dress with flip-flops is not appropriate. So you have to help her pick out outfits, something like that. Or, Michelle can put herself to bed, but you can't say, go upstairs, brush your teeth, and get in bed. You have to give her simple one-step tasks. Go upstairs. And then once she's upstairs, you're going to have to tell her, brush your teeth. And then once she brushes her teeth, you're going to have to tell her, now get in bed. So whatever your family needs, you could put into that letter of intent. And this is not a legal document. It doesn't have to go through an attorney. It doesn't even have to be notarized. It's more of an instruction manual for how to love your family. And think about your vision of the future. What does the future look like for you? And what does it look like for your loved ones? And how can somebody help that future happen? What steps have been taken and what still needs to be done? Think about your future planning. What amount of money, what amount of care does your loved one need? If they're not going to be completely independent, are they going to be able to maybe live with a roommate? Do they need a group home or maybe a full residential community where they have access to 24/7 care if they need it. Maybe they don't need full 24/7 care. They just need an attendant once in a while. Those have two very, very different costs associated with them, as you could imagine. So how are you going to set aside the money that your loved one needs into a special needs trust for them? How much do you need to fund that trust? How can you maximize the benefits that your family is going to get through the government, Social Security programs, waiver programs, all of that stuff to get benefits for your whole family? And what happens to your child once you're gone? Are they still going to be able to live in that residential community or in whatever setting you've got them set up in? Hopefully you've got them set up in that living arrangement before you're gone. But if not, do you have plans in place for if you pass suddenly? What do you have in place and what have you thought about and not thought about for the future? It's really going to help you sleep easier at night the sooner you get started planning for these situations. Now, you think about the cost of care for the future, and it's not just what do these things cost right now, but what are they going to cost when your child needs them in 20 or 30 or 40 years? Well, one way to make sure that you're going to be able to fund that is to be sure that you don't mess up the benefits that are going to come from SSI and Medicaid, SSDI and Medicare. Make sure that you preserve your eligibility and that you're following the rules for those programs. You can have money saved for your loved ones in two places. That would be a special needs trust set up by an attorney. And then that your current life insurance and your assets and any money that you want to leave to your child can provide funding for that special needs trust. Now, there's also the ABLE account where your loved one can have money. For 2024, you are able to put in $18,000 for the year. And you can even put in more money if your child is working and earning money. And for the ABLE account, this has to be a disability that started before your child turned 26 years old. We can help you set up an ABLE account. There are over 50 all across the United States of America, and you can choose almost any of them that you want to, because most of them say that you don't have to live in their state to use their ABLE account. Some of them do, but most you can pick whichever one you want. If you want to sign up for yourself, you can do that. If you want us to sign you up for one, we can take care of that for you. Now, this year, the ABLE account, you can put in $18,000. I've heard that next year it's going to go up to $19,000, but I don't have confirmation on that yet. So please don't take my word for that at this time. So when you have an ABLE account, the beneficiary is the account owner. And what happens is you put money into the account, they take out usually a maintenance fee right at the beginning. And then the rest of that money is invested. It goes to purchase mutual funds. And the income earned in the account from those mutual funds is not taxable. So you're going to put money in, that account is going to grow. You're going to earn money off of that growth and not have to pay taxes on it. Now, that account will not be counted against your child for SSI or Medicaid. It does not count as an asset. And there are different limits to how much you can put in. Like I've already said, $18,000 for 2024. You also never, ever want to let the ABLE account go above $100,000 total, because at that point, SSI and Medicaid will cut off benefits. Now, with the ABLE account, there is a Medicaid reimbursement clause where once your child passes away, if there is money in the ABLE account, then Medicaid can come back and claim reimbursement for some of those funds. The Okay, yeah, I'm looking at some of the questions in the chat box coming through. Sorry, I was distracted for a second there. Anyway, so the other thing you need to think about and place where you can have money is that special needs trust. One thing that we do for you is we look at how much money your child is going to need after you pass away to be taken care of. And if you could set aside into a special needs trust, then your child will be taken care of. That trust will be invested a little bit, so the money will grow a little bit, and then they'll start to draw down those funds. And by the time they pass away, those funds will be mostly used. So the special needs trust will be there to provide money that you set aside for them. It will not count against them for SSI or Medicaid benefits unless they use it incorrectly. There is one rule regarding the special needs trust. If your child is still on SSI benefits, they should not use the special needs trust to pay for housing. That is just one of the nuances, but an attorney needs to set up the special needs trust for you. An attorney also needs to set up guardianship for you. And if you want guardianship over your loved one, you can start that process when you're within about 6 months of their 18th birthday. It's really not advantageous to start that process too much earlier. But you definitely need to have a qualified attorney prepare these documents for you. Yes, we're going to get to the wait list in one moment. Is a 529 savings plan considered an asset for SSI purposes? So the 529, there are two different kinds of 529. One is the college savings. That's a 529C. 529C is meant for educational expenses only. So that would be tuition, room and board, books, things like that they're going to use for school. If you find that maybe your child will not go to college and spend that money on expenses for school, for educational purposes, you can roll the 529C for college into a 529A for ABLE account. And then that money, because it is for a person with a disability, that money can be used for anything that will help them achieve a better life. We've done full, complete webinars on just ABLE accounts, but the 529 ABLE will not be counted against them as an asset for SSI, whereas a 529 college savings plan will count against them. So if you need to roll that over, we can do that easily. We will talk about the wait lists. Okay, so Bobby is asking about open currency partners. Bobby, when we talk, I know we already have a meeting set up. So when we talk, please remind me to talk to you about that stuff. Is there a downside to rolling a 529C into a 529A? I don't really see one, and it's a very simple process. The difference, again, is that if it's a 529A for ABLE, your child has to have a disability, and they can use the money on anything that will help them achieve a better life experience. You can have both a 529C and a 529A. However, that 529C is going to take away from your child's benefits. So it's really best if you have an ABLE account instead. If you already have a Texas Tuition Promise Fund, you might want to check with them, with the administrators of that Texas Tuition Promise Fund, and see what the rules are about getting your money out of there and switching it to a 529C. I mean, a 529A for ABLE. Sorry about that. Okay. Many people asked ahead of this meeting about transition programs and residential programs. This is a list of some of the programs that are available here in the Texas area, in Texas. Many of these are in Houston because that's where we're located, but there are tons throughout the entire state and throughout the entire country. I would start with a Google search for transition and residential programs for my special needs loved one and see what that turns up. These are supposed to be links to all of these different programs. Again, if they don't work, please just let me know so I can fix them. We do these webinars all the time, 2 or 3 times a week. We're hosting educational free webinars for you. This link will take you directly to the list of all of the webinars that we host, and you can sign up ahead of time so you can get reminders. And if you miss out, you'll still get the link to the recording and the slides if you want that. We do talk about all of the different things that need to be on your special needs planning radar, like the special needs care plan, the waiver and interest list, which I'm going to go into detail about here in a second, SSI and SSDI, how to understand the differences and know when to apply. We talk about ABLE accounts and what exactly they do and how to use them, beneficiary designations, special needs trusts. Another thing about a special needs trust is that if you have child support in your situation, we know that many people go through divorce in this community. If child support beyond age 18 is coming, you are going to need to have that redirected to a first party special needs trust. You can talk to an attorney about that, about getting the trust set up, and then have your divorce attorney redirect that child support payment to the special needs trust. Start thinking about residential communities, vocational options, and anything beyond high school so that you can get on waiting lists. And think about guardianship and the alternatives to guardianship because it's a big step. And again, you can start planning for guardianship when you're within 6 months of that 18th birthday. Now, we did have a lot of questions about the waiver programs. It is very, very important if you have a child with any kind of intellectual or developmental disability that you contact your LIDA, register your child with your LIDA. And you might be thinking, my what now? LIDA stands for your Local Intellectual and Developmental Disability Authority, your LIDA. I'm going to put it in the chat box, LIDA. So that would be something like Texana, if you're in Fort Bend County, the Harris Center, if you're in Harris County, MHMR, Bluebonnet, ACOG. Those are the names of some of the LIDAs around Texas. So these go by county, pretty much. Some of them serve more than one county. But your LIDA is where you're going to sign up for the Texas waiver programs. There is also a website that you can go to, yourtexasbenefits.com, You can go there and you can look and register yourself. Yes, in Tri-County is in Montgomery County. So go to your LIDA or that website. Make sure you are on the waiting list for the waiver programs. These are going to help provide benefits that are going to help pay for things like therapies and medications, minor home modifications, dental work. It can pay for transportation, nursing hours, respite hours, and it can even pay for housing in the future. Now, some of these waiting lists can be very, very long, and I'm talking about 20 years that your child might have to wait for these services. So it is very, very crucial that you get on that waiting list as soon as you possibly can. If you haven't heard about it until today, well, then you need to sign up today. And that's all right, because even if your child doesn't get these benefits until later in their lives, it's still going to be very useful for them. So get on the waiting list. Some of them will help you pay for day hab programs or housing, things like that. It just depends which program you get on and how they can help you. Now, another question that I saw come up a lot ahead of time was questions about the Texas Workforce Commission and their vocational rehab program. So the Texas Workforce Commission does have some great training options and programs where they can help test for what is keeping your loved one from getting and keeping a full-time job, and can we give them training that's going to, help them be able to learn how to work. And they are great programs, but just like every other government entity, the Texas Workforce Commission can get backed up and mired up in having too much work and too few employees. So be patient with them. Some have found them extremely helpful, and some of our clients have said that they haven't quite gotten all the services that they were hoping for. But just be persistent, because they're a great program. Let's see. Do the fees, I'm going back to some of the questions I've got in the chat box. This is Consolidated Planning Group. All of our advisors and staff. This is a very small company. Again, we are independent. We are located just outside of Houston in the Sugar Land area. We're members of the Academy of Special Needs Planners. We are National Social Security Advisors, and I am a chartered special needs consultant through the American College of Financial Services. We take this very seriously, and helping families with an individual that has a disability is our entire focus of our business. It's not just something that we do once in a while. It's not like a couple of the families that we serve have children with disabilities. It's like 90-something% of the families that we serve. So this is really what we do day in and day out. We make sure that our continued education is up to date and that we know all of the rules and regulations so that we can help you. Do the fees for lifelong learning with friends, which is sponsored by UT Austin, have to come out of a 529, or can we just use my son's SSI funds? You can use whatever funds you want to pay for that. It does not have to come from any specific place. Those programs, I mean, they don't really care where it comes from. So whether it's a 529C, which is the college one, or if it comes from the ABLE account, or if you pay out of pocket, or if it comes from their SSI funds, any of those answers are correct. Does Star Plus cover day hab? I do believe it does, but you need to talk to the administrator of the program for that. Regarding updated testing, what sites do that if our loved one has already graduated? So maybe talk to your doctor, the primary care physician, or your waiver providers, maybe even Texas Workforce Commission, about getting some updated testings. Your local authority, like I said, you should be in touch with your local authority, because not only do they have these waiver programs, but they have other programs designed to help you and your families. Okay. I'm trying to see if I've answered all of the questions that are in the previous, in the emails you all sent in, and get the questions from today. Let me talk about this slide before I finish up, and I'm going to get as many of your questions as I possibly can. So please keep putting them in the chat box. But just in case I don't get to your question, or maybe you're a little shy, you don't want to ask your question in front of everybody, please, please schedule a free consultation with us. Now, I can do that for you. I can schedule it for you if you call or email me, or you can use the QR code. You can call or email the office and they can get it scheduled. But we do schedule a free consultation. It's on Zoom. That way you don't have to travel. You don't have to get a babysitter, none of that stuff. We don't have to share COVID germs. So schedule your Zoom consultation. It is about 30 to 45 minutes. We let you pick our brains and ask us any questions that you might have. And then we'll go over how we work and what we do and what fees we charge and go from there. And we'll see if it's a good fit for you to work with us. There are a couple of people in the chat who are participants today who have had their free consultation. You guys feel free to let people know how it went. Hopefully you'll tell them that we didn't bite you or threaten you or, um, you know, push you into doing anything. We do follow up and we do want to know if your answer is yes or no. But other than that, we're just truly here to help. So let's see what other questions we have here. Does Medicaid pay for any long-term services? I'm not really sure which services you're referring to, but Medicaid does cover a lot of different things. And later in life, your loved one will also be receiving Medicare. That just comes later. Some LIDAs also have special programs and resources for your loved one and for caregivers and staff, even while you're on the wait list. So that's good to know. What is the address? The address of our office, we have an office space that we use. It's in Sugar Land, right at the intersection of highways 59 and 99, right there in Sugar Land. We do not work out of the office, though. We work from our homes, and if we need to use the office for a meeting, we do go ahead and schedule that. Companion to Okay. Will CPG pair with a personal CFP for financial planning? If you already have an advisor, a financial advisor, we are happy to give you our opinions and make proposals to you, and then you can choose to take our recommendations to your financial advisor, or you can roll your finances over to the financial advisors, third-party asset managers that we recommend. That is completely fine. There is no obligation that you use us for anything once you go through your planning, if that's what you want to do. Kara, if you make an appointment with us, I'd be happy to walk you through how that all works and what it looks like. So the links here are for our YouTube channel. Again, we put all of our webinars on YouTube so that you can check them out even if you can't be here during this lunch hour time that we typically use. This one goes to our Instagram page. We have a podcast so that people who prefer to listen instead of watch can be taken care of, and also our Facebook page here. And again, we are happy to answer any questions that you have. If you email me or call me directly, I can set up your consultation for you. So I don't see any other questions in the chat box, but please feel free to reach out. We're here to help. I hope you all have a great Christmas and holiday season. I know there's a lot coming up in the next few weeks, different holidays for all different religions and creeds and nationalities are coming in the next few weeks. So whatever your family celebrates here in the wintertime, I hope you enjoy. And if there's anything ever that I can do to help you, please write down my name and number. Here it is one last time. And I'd be happy to help you all. Happy holidays. Thank you for taking the time to be with me today and to listen to me. And I look forward to hearing from you. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.